What's going on, guys? Greg Helbeck here. About to do a good old sales call review here. This appointment was a pretty good one, actually. I didn't end up buying the house. There wasn't a lot of pain. This could be a strong follow-up, but I'll give you a good example on this appointment. I really go negative hard on this one to really see if there's true pain, and to really see if the seller's motivated to take action. And that's actually not the case here. Another thing I like to do, just to give you guys the little Clip Notes version before we dig into the meat, is that I really test the investment step here on this call. And what the seller says is evidence that she's not a motivated seller, a true blue seller. So I do a lot of good stuff here. Probably could dive deeper into pain like always, but this is an overall good call, guys. A short call, very, very kind of compact, and we get a lot of good rapport on this tour. So you'll see, I kind of make a very a great environment for her to tell me the truth about the property. So hope you guys enjoy it. I'll pick it apart as we go, and like I said, about to play it right now.
That dog sounds vicious. Jeez, that thing sounds vicious. Hi. Is that the dog? Okay. I heard her from the car. I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I just called you. Oh, I'm so sorry. There's like no service around here. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
You're awesome.
Wow. Nice. This is a nice property.
Yeah.
Folks, I
I'm
did
just
not
tired
expect this.
Doing all my stuff.
Wow, I had no idea. This is a nice town. It's like I'm up in the Adirondacks.
Yeah, I've been here for 32. I built it in 85,
Okay,
so it's been here 32 years. And I've kept up on it.
absolutely. Looks like you have.
You can walk the house if you want to.
Do you mind if I just kind of share with you how we do the appointments?
Do you mind if I just kind of share with you how we do the appointments? So every time you get into a sales call, you can't let that seller start to lead you down the sales process. You want to set that anchor. You want to set that advance agreement. You want to lay down the ground rules before you get going, so the seller expects, so the seller's on the same page as you, basically. Hey, you mind if I share with you how we do the appointments? Blah, 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 blah. And then we get the whole appointment set up for success. She knows exactly what's going to happen, how we're going to do this. I'm going to take the pressure off her, and we're going to have this thing be smooth as silk.
Is that okay?
Do what's what?
How we kind of do the appointments?
Yeah.
Is that all right if I share with you?
Sure.
So I was hoping you could give me a tour of the property.
Mhm.
The outside, the inside.
Agenda.
And then after, can we sit down maybe outside? We spoke on the phone briefly.
Mhm.
There's the dog.
Yeah.
It's a boxer?
It's a box.
Oh my goodness. She's not gonna. I'm afraid of dogs.
No, she's
Okay.
not. I've got the back door closed.
She's
so,
good to go. Okay.
Yeah, she's not going to get to
Okay.
it.
After that, you can ask me some questions.
Mhm.
Always give them the right to ask questions.
I'm gonna have a couple questions for you, and then,
Ask for permission to ask them questions.
based on that conversation, I'll let you know if we can make an offer on this or not.
Okay.
Next outcome steps.
So if I can buy it, I'll let you know today how much I can pay for it. If I see something that'll prevent me from being able to buy it, I'll let you know today, hey, Pat, don't think I can buy this one. But either way, you'll know.
Going negative. Giving them a definite outcome for the end of the sales call.
Whatever we have to do.
Is that cool?
That's fine.
All right, cool.
Getting them to agree.
Thank you. Was this a good time? Do you have like 30 minutes for this appointment?
Oh, I got plenty.
Time frame. All right, guys, right there, that was a straight up advance agreement. Simple stuff. Agenda, next outcome, time frame, everything got dialed in there. Now we're all on the same page. We're ready to dive into this thing.
Okay.
Because yesterday,
That's fine.
friends of mine called.
Okay.
That's the laundry room.
I'm going to just skip through the tour because the tour is just boring as balls. I want to try to provide the most value to you guys in the shortest time frame. I'm just going to skip the tour. I'm basically just walking around looking at the house. And let's just get right in the meat of this thing and break it down.
And the drop off. It's easy to put in water.
And
I I'm a little scared.
It really all depends. Thank you. Why you're selling, stuff like that, you can ask me anything. Yeah. Usually I get out of the houses and the first thing I do is I put hand sanitizer on here, but this is not the case. Yeah, it's like how do people live like, you know?
All right, so this is an interesting lead because this person has a beautiful, beautiful log cabin in the middle of the woods. House is spotless, gorgeous. Thing is amazing. I would totally like Airbnb this thing. Like it's super nice. Like I feel like I'm up in like the woods, even though I am in the woods. But anyway, this is a weird situation. I'm like, why on earth does this lady want to sell this beautiful house? And I'm trying to get to the root of all the pain here. And as you see, there's not as much as I thought, but I did my best to try to really pull all the stuff out of the call. You know, pull everything I can out of it and really test. Like she's gonna tell me a lot of problems, and you'll see I try to I'm like, yeah, you're telling me the problems, but you know, how are they a big deal? And you watch what she says. But this is like I said, a lot of these houses that need no work. There's always something else besides the house that's really keeping them. You know, that's making them call your company. But this one, like I said, house is gorgeous, so it's clearly not going to be the condition of the house. It's going to be pain.
It's funny, my partner and I were on, what the heck is that road? Right before you get to Youngblood Road. Oh, man. Yeah. We're buying a house there. And, you know, this house is just insanely disgusting. And I'm like, how do you live like that? It's crazy.
I can't.
It's like... It's ridiculous. Yeah. I'm like, we're in there, and
I'm a little scared.
There's dog crap in the basement.
Oh, no.
It's like this big pile of dog crap, and I'm just like, me and my partner, like, what the? How do you live like that? It's disgusting. So so that was it. That was the house.
This is the house. This is it.
All right. Mind if I ask you a couple questions, kind of about why you're selling stuff?
Another advance agreement. So that's what I like to do too. Like set that advance agreement in the beginning just to like give them the outline of the appointment. And then like once I sit down, I always like to ask for permission to ask questions again because I'm really trying to like, you know, tell them, listen, I don't know if I can buy the house. You know, in order for me to even do something, I just want to ask you some questions about the property and your situation because, you know, a lot of the times we can't buy these houses and a lot of the times they're not a good fit. So, you know, if I'm able to ask you some questions, that's really going to kind of give me a rough idea to see if there's something I can do for you or not. And just getting them to agree to have you ask them questions is just it's so much easier to kind of get into the real problems when you just set another advance agreement before you go into the diagnosis.
Stuff like that, you can ask me anything.
And then you always ask them, hey, you can ask me anything you'd like to. I'll answer anything. You know, you probably have some questions for me.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want a water or coffee or
I'll take a coffee.
beer?
It's okay.
I don't have milk because I drink.
I drink it black.
Questions for you also.
Yeah, you can ask me anything you'd like. I have some information that I brought with me.
Well, first of all, if we do something, we do something. How do you pay me and how do you take care of my leftover mortgage?
That's a really good question, and we get that every single time we go out to look at a house.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, so if this is something we can buy, I don't want to make you any promises.
Right there, she had a question for me about time frame and how long it takes for her to move out of the house. And the old Greg used to say, oh, ASAP, right away, we'll close in 7 days. Like, you know, now she's asking me a question. I want to figure out why she's asking me that question. So basically, the way I answer that one specifically is I go, yeah, it's a great question. We get that a lot. You know, honestly, it all depends. You know, if we can buy the house, I don't know if we can or not. So I answer the question by going negative, number one. If we can buy it, I don't know if we can or not. Always going negative. It all depends on your situation, whatever's best for you. And then that gives her the peace of mind saying, okay, great. I don't have to rush out of here if I want to sell it. Or if she has to rush out of there, she knows we can close the thing down quickly.
Basically, once we agreed on a price, if that were to come into fruition, we would sign a contract, and then, you know, we'd use a lawyer. And at the closing, the agreed price that we, you know, agreed upon basically gets wired to your bank account. And then if you have a mortgage, you know, the bank takes the payoff, and then you get the difference. So it's that simple.
Is this Does this end up costing me any money for
No.
closing costs?
No. Well, sometimes depending on the price, sometimes we can pay for the legal fees and closing costs. So it really all depends. Thank you. It depends on the situation and everything. And,
Oh, there's no mortgage left.
yeah, I think we talked about that on the phone.
Well, it's under 50,000.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Very small.
It's almost under 40,000. Because I kept refinancing.
I bet you this value shot up in 2007, right?
Oh yeah.
This thing probably. Oh.
Yeah, that's okay.
So yeah. So all in all, I mean, it's a nice house. Normally, I'm not in a house this nice.
Mm-hmm.
Why in the world are you thinking about selling this again?
So this is a nice house. We didn't really get into any of the reasons why she was selling on the tour. So my favorite anchor question when it comes to that is like, wow, Joanne, this is a super nice house. Why in the world are you even thinking about selling? And that's going to bring any sort of problem that could be there right up to the surface, especially when she trusts you and you have rapport built. Why in the world are you thinking about selling this thing? Let's see what she says.
Because I can't handle it anymore.
I can't handle it anymore. What does that mean, though? See, that's where I can't handle it anymore. Is that a problem or not? Let's see how hard I probe on this one. I haven't reviewed this yet, so this is my first time listening to this thing.
I'm 76 years old.
Okay.
What I used to do all day long now takes me 4 days to do. Shoveling, snow blowing. I don't hire anybody to do any of my stuff because I'm too particular. I have a lot of friends that have already moved south. They're dwindling up here. I love golf. I play 4 or 5 times a week. It's warm down here all year, just about all year long.
So she's telling me right now she's sick of taking care of the property, even though it's in immaculate condition. She likes to play golf. She wants to go down south. She doesn't want to deal with all the horse shit that happens in New York in the winter regarding the snow and stuff like that. So right now I'm thinking, okay, that's the problem, but there has to be some impact to that problem that's going to get her stressed and emotional, because that's going to lead her to sell her house at a reduced price to our company. So let's see what happens. This is a pretty good diagnosis, actually.
And I've already scoped out a place down in Boynton Beach. I'm just done. My family's all gone. I have my stepson. That's it. And we're not that close, so. And I'm single. And I love being single. I do what I want. I do what I want.
Freedom, right? So has this house kind of impacted your freedom at all? Has this thing just kind of holding you back?
Not really.
No.
Has the house impacted your freedom? See, that was like a stupid impact question. I mean, it's, you know, the intention was there, my question. But what does Brian Tracy say? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So I asked an impact question there, but it should have been a better impact question. Has this house impacted your freedom? You know, I kind of had the guts there to ask that, but I probably could have asked a better type of impact question. I should have really kind of probed and so I kind of went at it with more Socratic questions, being like, yeah, but what do you mean by your freedom? What do you mean by your lonely? Like just kind of getting her to talk a little bit more, and then I can ask more impact questions as she goes deeper into the problem.
No, I'm just tired of the maintenance.
Tired of the maintenance. See that? There's got to be more to just being tired of the maintenance.
As in just taking
Mowing lawns,
See, I'm getting her to probe deeper here. Mowing lawns. Da, 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 da.
taking care of the outside property. The inside's nothing. My friends are down.
Okay. Okay.
My
So
reason.
that's it.
That's it.
All right.
That's it. So now we're like, we're not even close to where we need to be able to make a decision. We are not even close. We are just skimming the surface. So right now I'm thinking in my brain, I'm like, oh, we gotta find some more serious problems, or else there's gonna be no value or no real pain we can remove here.
Has the house been like stressing you out, causing any problems, or?
Has the house been stressing you out, causing any problems? So now at this point, I'm just like, you know what? Let's see where this thing's at. I got nothing to lose but to ask some impact questions at this point, you know, because right now I'm not really getting much pain here. So I'm just thinking to myself, fuck it. Has the house been stressing you out? Has it been causing you any other problems?
Anything like that? This thing looks like it's immaculate, you know?
No, it's never possible. And the best part is you never have to paint inside. The only thing I have to paint is downstairs and the bathroom.
Yeah.
All the other rooms are solid wood.
Okay. Understood. And if you sold this thing, where would you go again? I'm sorry.
Boynton Beach.
If you sold this thing, where would you go? Picture perfect question. So this is kind of like, I want to kind of break this down a little bit. So right now where I'm at in my sales career is like, I used to be completely ignorant on like, I wouldn't even know what questions to ask. I just didn't know anything about like asking problem, impact, and picture perfect questions. And now I ask them every single time on every sales call I go on. But like I'm asking these questions kind of and the timing is off. Like I need to really like to ask a productive picture perfect question. You want to get a lot of pain, and you want to get a lot of problems, and you want to get a lot of impact and get them, oh my god, this house, oh my god, it stressed me out, oh da 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 da, and then you ask a picture perfect question once you build that pain up, and then they're like, oh my goodness, if I was able to sell this thing, oh my goodness, it would be such a big relief, because they're telling you about the problem and the impact, and then when you ask a picture perfect question, they're like, wow, that is exactly what I'd be able to do if I sold this thing. So on this one, I asked a picture perfect question without really having any impact. So like the question was a good question, but the timing of the question wasn't there. I really, need to kind of build the pain up a lot more before you start going for these picture perfect questions.
1 hour. It's on the East Coast. It's 1 hour from Miami.
Oh, on the up north Miami, right?
Yeah.
So kind of like Palm Beach.
Yeah. It's West Palm Beach.
Oh, of course.
It's right next to West Palm Beach.
Okay.
I'm right next to the airport. I can jump on a plane in 15 minutes.
Boom, right there. So, if you want to get rid of this property, go to Boynton Beach, Florida, play some
And I don't
golf.
want to come back. I have a lot.
Why don't you want to come back?
I have friends that are staying. I have maybe.
Why don't you want to come back? See, I'm just trying to probe here. Like, this diagnosis is tough, guys. I mean, listen, you get good at this thing, you're off to the races. I mean, so now I'm kind of at the point where I'm asking, like, after I do this call, like, record it, this thing, what I'll do is I'll sit down and I'll go through a sales journal and I'll write down the questions that I exactly ask, and I'll see which ones are problem, impact, and picture perfect. And now I know how to ask the right questions. Now I need to time it better and probe a lot deeper.
10 friends.
Sure.
Patty, come anytime. Stay a month during the winter or during the summer. You want to get away from the heat down there? Come on up.
Yeah.
So, but 6 of my major friends have moved down.
Okay. So have you kind of been lonely up here? Or do you get bored?
Have you been lonely up here? Have you getting bored? Just trying to find more problems here to see if there's anything I can really do to help this lady.
Always doing that?
I make friends very easily.
Yeah. You're very nice to get along with. Some
Yeah,
people don't want to talk to me. They're like, who the hell are you? Yeah.
No, I can go to a golf course by myself and they can hook me up with someone and I've made a new friend.
Good.
Not that I'm going to call them the next day or anything, but we'll like say, do you want to play golf in a couple of weeks? Get the touch,
Yeah. Okay. So that's basically the main reason for selling. It doesn't seem like you're really in a rush to get out of here, though.
No.
Right?
So now I start going negative. I'm like, wow, that was a really weak diagnosis. I couldn't really probe that deep. What I should have done was I should have got her to talk a lot more and got her to explain, like, really, what do you mean by that? And just kind of get her to talk more. And when you do that, they start to get really like, they go down these like rabbit holes and they start talking about a lot of stuff. And then a lot of times they're like, yeah, and this house has just been a nightmare for that. What do you mean, a nightmare? How has it been a nightmare? It's gorgeous, You start going a little negative, and then like, oh, well, because of blah, 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 blah. And then when they kind of go down that rabbit hole, then when you ask a question like, wow, so how has this thing really been impacting you? They'll tell you, holy shit, yeah, it's been impacting me because of blah, blah, blah. And then you can be like, yeah, well, yeah, really, wow, I'm surprised, And then you can be like, hey, if you couldn't sell the house, would that be a big deal? Yeah, it would be, because then I wouldn't be able to do blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, get them to go down that rabbit hole and tell them your problems. And this one, I just don't go deep enough. I kind of just go way too shallow.
No, that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
If we make a deal, you had said to me up to 6 months I could.
Oh, wow. That's not an issue at all. Whatever's easy for you.
So let me ask you this. Suppose we made the deal and I said to you, and I signed a contract.
Sure.
And then I said, but I can't go for 6 months. What does that do? Do I pay you a rental fee or
You just stay in contract.
just saying?
Just lock it up, and whenever you're ready to go.
What happens if I bring my lawyer?
What do you mean, bring your lawyer?
I just have a friend, I don't even know his last name, Michael. He's a lawyer.
Okay.
Do I need a lawyer? Is this...
Well, it depends
Are you guys on the up and up? Or what?
Yeah, we're a real company. You know, we have a website. I have a credibility, you know, proof of funds letter. Like, this is not a scam by any means. Some people get uncomfortable. They don't really know what's going on. You know, we don't buy every house we walk into. But if this is something that we can do that's going to be a win-win, you know, we make sure that, you know, people are comfortable with the transaction. They understand the whole transaction. There's transparency on both sides. And everything goes as smooth as can be. So the hard part is figuring out to see if there's something we can do to help you. Once we determine if it's a fit or not a fit, if it is a fit, the rest is not very hard. You know what I mean? So I always come over and I see if there's something I can do or not. So if this were to work, you know, I can't promise you.
If this were to work, I can't promise you that. Always going negative.
If we made a deal, it's very easy after that. We have a lawyer. We buy multiple houses a month. You know, we're not some fly-by-night company. We have a website. We have credibility. You know, that's not the big issue with us. It's, can we help you or can we not help you? And what we do is I'll come over here and I'll have an honest conversation with you to see what's kind of going on with the house. If my company's a fit for you, or a lot of the times I'll tell you, hey, Patty, based on what you told me, I don't know if we would be the best fit. Maybe you should try to do another option. Maybe you should use an agent. Maybe you should rent it. Maybe you should keep the house. You know, based on what this conversation goes like, I let you know basically, hey, maybe we are a fit, maybe we're not a fit. Maybe an agent's a better fit. Maybe renting is a better fit. Whatever. You know, for me, I have to ask you questions, and then you got to tell me some answers for me to say, can I do something? Can I not do something? I really don't know. So I like to understand your situation, and that gives me a good indicator to see, hey, can I help you? Can I not help you? If I can't, I'll let you know what your best option might be. So that's kind of how we roll.
If I could afford it, I would do both. I would buy the place down in Boynton Beach and do it.
Why couldn't you do that?
I don't have money.
But there's not, you said there's not a lot of, there's no mortgage. There's really a small mortgage on this
I
house.
know, but I live on pension and social security. I have no, like I said, the last 3 years I've put $18,000 in here.
So guys, at this point, I mean, honestly, her guard is down. Like, we both have respect and trust during this sales appointment. So, like, if there's any pain or problem, she's not, like, holding her cards to her chest now. She's going to tell me any type of problem that might be on her mind here. And this is honestly one of those calls, I think, that there's just really nothing there, and it's a retail seller. And like I said, the big issue is I definitely could have went deeper on the pain here. And I honestly tried my best, and I wasn't able to kind of get that. So, like I said, there could be some more stuff hiding, you know, underneath the surface on this call. But for what I did on this one, I mean, there's really nothing. And you'll see I get into the investment step, and this is going to be a two-part video. So I get into the investment step, and I really kind of like test it, and you'll see what happens. But on this one, I mean, we have a solid advance agreement. We have good rapport, good trust built. She knows we're a real company. She knows I'm not trying to pull the wool over her eyes. And this one, there just might not be some juice on this.
Strained me. Strained me. But it had to be done.
Just
The
to meet
roof,
the roof,
the
okay.
furnace.
Was that a big deal before?
It was starting to cost me like...
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What was going on?
I don't know, stupid little pieces of whatever they were, but he'd come in the house, and by the time he left, it'd be $400.
Jesus, that doesn't taste very good, right?
No, it did not. It was just little things. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll stay. And then this past winter and this summer, I said, you know what I need to do with this? I just need to go play golf. And go out for...
I just need to go play golf. Picture perfect. So now she's kind of realizing this house is a nightmare, and she doesn't really want to deal with it. But still, we're not in that high motivational, emotional state. Some of these calls I go on, I think I've played a couple in the past, like, these people are ready to get the F out of there. Like, they do not want to deal with this property. They're stressed, they're worried, they're concerned, they're angry. And they're just like, listen, get me out of here. This person clearly wants to sell their house, but we're not in that, I'm sick of it, I'm tired, oh my God, this house is a nightmare. We're not in that kind of state right now. So it's going to be very tough to get the numbers figured out on this property because, you know, my offer isn't that nasty of like a lowball offer, but you know, this is just an honest property. We'd have to buy about 70% of the value. There's no repairs. It's turnkey, but I still need to buy it at an investor price. So you'll see as this appointment gets gets further along, you'll see what she says about my offer. But you know, there's a little bit of pain. There's like a little bit. There's a little gap, but it's not one of those gaps where it's like, oh my god, I need to sell this thing right now.
Dinner, with someone, and that's it. Mom, watch the door. I'm good.
Not worry about a damn house, right?
Yeah, I don't want anything to go wrong. I think sometimes, what happens if a tree falls on a house? Yeah, I got insurance, but what happens?
That's not fun.
I'm just done.
But the thing is, like you say, you're done.
I'm just done. See, like, that's an emotional word for me. So I'm just trying to test that now. I'm trying to say, yeah, you're done, but what do you mean by done? Like, I'm just trying to really get her. I'm trying to get the floodgates to open here because I feel like on this one, I'm like one or two like impact or picture perfect questions away from just getting the floodgates to open, and I'm just really trying to push to see if we can get there.
No, but the house is in good condition. You're still
Now I start going negative. Watch what happens.
still have money to pay for it. It's not like this thing's a financial issue for you.
Yeah, but
This
it's
thing
like
is
It's not like it's a financial issue for you. Now I start going negative and using takeaways.
I sold this. This was another thought.
All right. Let me take a picture of this real quick. All right, so I just screenshotted it. We're going to do a two-part video because this is actually a really good call towards the end of it. I get really into the weeds with the seller. So for now, just to kind of like recap that, like this is one of those prospects, like they're like neutral. They call, they're like, oh, I got your postcard, da 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 da. There's equity, like they're qualifying themselves for me to go see it. It's not too far from my house. So this has like a good appointment written all over it. And now we're at a position on the sales call where there's a little bit of pain. I have a little gap created. I've asked some impact, not really much impact. It's more of a picture perfect kind of situation. And the house is just like kind of a little bit of a problem. But now you'll see we have 20 more minutes of this call. So that's the second video I do. Will be all, breaking the second half of this thing down. But like this video, like this person's like, they're like, hey, like this, they're starting to tell me why this is actually that big of a deal. And you'll see where it ends up. But I mean, you see me, I'm trying to ask honest questions. I'm trying to have a real conversation with these people. And now as I start going negative, you'll see how the seller starts to try to sell themselves. So this is going to be continued on part 2. Hope you guys enjoy it.